Hello, friends and leaders from Central and Eastern Europe. My name is Toshe Temelkov, and I'm from Macedonia, believe it or not. Even though some people will say, hey, you sound American, man. Well, that's because my wife is American, and you can blame her. She twisted my words and made me sound like American. Well, I lead Leader Impact here in Macedonia, in Skopje, and we have some things that we want to talk about before we start. So, in the chat window, we would like to hear from you. And of course, because this is a Let's Talk webinar, we want to have a lot of interaction with you. A lot of the webinars that I've attended, you just sit and you don't even have to turn on your video. You just put it on your phone and you listen in the background and maybe eat dinner. This is not one of those. We would like you to engage. And so soon we will also have a poll that I would like for you to answer our question that we ask you. So that's another way that we would like to see you engage. And also, the best way to engage is at the end of this webinar. So even though we will have, the first thing that we will do, we will have our speaker present this whole topic of the purpose of business. So Dr. Tong will speak on the purpose of business, but afterwards, you all received an email from the leaders of the countries that you're from, and you will join a special group from your country. It might be several groups. It depends on the people that will be involved. So there you will experience what Leader Impact actually does. We're all about small groups, coaching one another, and growing, helping each other grow professionally, personally, and spiritually. We really believe that we will touch on the professional topic the most during this webinar. But when you join a small group, you will experience a lot more of what Leader Impact is all about. So, some more technical questions. We would like for you to click on the right upper corner and click on speaker view and rather than gallery view. So if you're on a computer, that will be very easy for you to do. And then if you don't understand English, if you would like to choose translation, you will go down on the right side, so not the reactions button, but the interpretation button where the globe is, and you will click Czech language is German. So if you want to listen to Czech, you will have to click on the German option. If you want to listen to Ukrainian, you have to select Russian. And if you want to listen to Albanian, you will have to click Spanish. This is because these are the only options that Zoom is letting us have. So our time will be broken in just two parts, the presenter and then Q&A. And like I said, the third part is separate, which is the small coaching group. Okay, so it looks like we have the most answers for our last option. So let's read the answers. Why do some businesses grow faster than others? Because they stay ahead of their competition, 1%. Because they adapt to everyday changes, 34%. Because of their core values, 27%. Because they have excellent customer service, 3%. Because they maintain a healthy cash flow, 0%. And because they have great leadership. Oh, look, we have two that are now tied at first place. Great adaptation and great leadership. So before we take too much time, I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Dr. Tong. And this is so amazing for me because I met Dr. Tong in Cyprus for the first time, and this was in 2017. So I've known him for 4 years. He actually stayed in my house in October 2017 when Macedonia had the big opening of Leader Impact in downtown Skopje at the Hotel Marriott, and Dr. Tong was our main speaker. And I'm just so glad that he's back to join us with a great topic. He has such a successful business. I love his story. I hope you share some of your story, Dr. Tong. He's from Singapore, but he started his business in China. And with more than 800 workers and a multi-million business, he has a lot of experience to share with us, but from a perspective of a leader. So before taking too much time, Dr. Tong, thank you for being with us, and go ahead, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, I want to send my warm greetings to you from Atlanta, USA, where I retire and is with my family. And this is a topic that I really enjoy because I love business. I come from multi-generations of business people. And when you ask people, why do they want to do business? Most of the time, they'll tell you they want to make money. But there is a higher purpose. I think there is a better reason for doing business. Of course, generating income is the result, but it is not the purpose. So today I want to share with you what I have summarized from my years of doing business. And if you are in business, this would be perfect for you. But even if you don't run your own business, you work for a business, the principles I share today is applicable to you. First of all, Tosha mentioned that I do business, but my business is mostly in education. I have established 6 international schools in China and 1 in the Middle East, and have the joy and privilege of leading a multinational team of up to 20 nationalities from all over the world, and they are working in international education, reaching out to children from many more countries. And along the way, I also do leadership development to the marketplace in China. So that is mostly my experience and my background, and I will share that with you, and hopefully that you will benefit from them. I have the great joy of working with many Chinese business people over the years and see their companies grow and transform. Now, first of all, understand today that my premise is that you want to have a sustainable business. There are shooting stars, there are companies that shut up and they burn very brightly, but they last only for a couple of seconds, like the fireworks. Today, what I'm sharing with you, it's like growing ginseng. Now, I know you're not familiar with this, but you may have heard about it. This is the cure-all for Chinese medicine. Now, it is very expensive. A ginseng like this, some of the pricier one can cost 200,000 US dollars. The reason why it is expensive is because it takes time to grow them. A ginseng would take 7 to 10 years before they are mature and before you can harvest them, and you harvest the root. So once you harvest it, that's it. So that's why it is very expensive. So with this as the backdrop, I hope you understand that I am helping you grow something that is sustainable like the ginseng. I will offer you 5 reasons for doing sustainable business. The first one is actually quite obvious. A business exists to meet specific market needs in the most effective and efficient way. A business is a transaction. The thing is that humans have needs, and these needs must be met by others. You think about your breakfast today or your lunch. If you stop to think about it, it took many people along the way to help you meet that need. Your lunch does not just happen on your table. It has cost a lot of farmers, transportation, this and that, the manufacturers. So we as humans have needs that can only be met by people, and that happens through good businesses. And here I mentioned effective and efficient. They are not the same. Effective means meeting the needs in a more comprehensive and deeper way. For example, this is an instrument that I think all of you carry, and you carry it with you 24/7, because it is a very effective way of meeting your multiple needs. It is not just a phone, it is a computer, it is a camera, it is a recorder, it is your day timer, your photo album, your translator. So this is a very effective way of meeting our needs. Everything in one, all right? Then efficient means to meet that needs in the shortest possible time and the most cost-effective way. If you can do that, if you can find a specific need in the society and you can meet it effectively and efficiently, you will survive. So I have already described the effective and efficient. And an example I have from actually from Europe, it's this founder of Ritz-Carlton. You all know that very famous brand of high-end hotels. He started out as actually an assistant to a server. He's not even a server. He was just an assistant to a server in a holiday resort in Germany. But later he became a leader in the hospitality business. And the reason is this: he was in the front line. He understands the needs of the customers. So that's how you become successful, all right? Some of the reasons given, one of the reasons is that you must be able to understand the needs. And you mentioned the changes, and those are the changing needs of your customers. All right, so business application is for you as a business owner or an executive or a professional, is to master the deeper needs of your customers and develop the best way to meet them. The second reason for business, sustainable business, is to create a healthy community. You think about it, most of us modern people spend most of our waking hours with our business co-workers. Can you imagine a situation when your workplace is a dread? You know, you hate being there. Your life quality will just be very low. So as a business owner, I strive to create a healthy community, because when my staff enjoy being together, that business will become competitive. An example is a good friend of mine. He's the owner of the largest real estate organization in China, in Singapore, about $20+ billion. And as a real estate developer, they have won the most prestigious global awards for real estate development 10 times in a row. No other company has ever done that, but this company has. And the reason is that the owner is committed to creating a healthy community. You know, Singapore is a multiracial, multi-religion society. So he developed this company. He said, we seek to be a community of love and a workplace of grace that welcomes Christians and non-Christians alike to work joyfully together. You can find this on their website, okay? I do not make this up. It's right there. This is their commitment. A few years ago, I was able to bring some of my Chinese students, business people, to visit with him. And he was very generous as usual. He gave us half a day and shared their core values and all that. You remember that just now in their statement, they want to create a community of grace. And the key takeaway for me that day was that he mentioned that grace is not free. Grace comes with a price. And it is a commitment. You know, grace doesn't happen just out of thin air. Somebody paid the price. That's why we can enjoy grace. So this is an example of a healthy community. And another one, and this is closer to Europe, and this is the largest, well, actually the second largest textile company in Europe, Hanel, in Istanbul. The owner, Hasid, I was very impressed with him. This was again about 2 years ago. I brought 43 Chinese business people to visit him. We had a wonderful time. Again, we spent half a day together. What impressed me was when he introduced his team. His VP was there, and then he had a few other servers, the people who serve us drinks and all that. He introduced every single one of them by name. he knows his janitor, so to speak. And he shared them, he introduced them as if on the same line as his VP. Now, I just want to mention this. He's an Armenian, and the servers I'm talking about are Turks, Muslims. And if you know the history, you know that there is a history of struggle between the people groups there. But what impressed me is this is a company that honors and respects everyone, no matter what their race, their religion, or their position in the company. This is what I mean by a healthy company. All right, so business application is actively work at having a joyous, healthy work culture. And the third purpose for a good business is to empower every employee to be who he or she is. You see, when everyone is in his element or her element, you will find that they will do much more for the company as a whole than if they have to strive. So when I select my employees, I have 5 C's. Of course, I look at their character. This is who he is. I look at their calling. Now, this is a term that may not be familiar to some of you, but it's actually quite common in the business arena. See, a person can look at his work as a chore. All right, he goes to work because he wants to make money, but then he wants to make money so he can do something else. All right, he's waiting for Friday. He's waiting for 5 or 6 o'clock to come around because work is a chore that he must do to make money. The second perspective on work, it's a career. Now, these are your engineers, your lawyers, your architects. They are committed to this particular area of work for the whole life. All right, so there is more commitment there. But even greater than that, a deeper one is that of calling. This is when someone has this calling inside of him, this passion, this interest, that he is willing to do this no matter what. Even if he's not paid, he will do it. Now you notice that I have 3 pictures here. For a chore, there's a story about this man. He walked alongside and he came along a construction site. He saw a mason, doing his work. So he asked the fellow, "What are you doing?" Oh, he said, "I'm just, stacking up the bricks." Then he asked the second fellow further along. He said, "What are you doing?" And this guy said, "Oh, I'm building a wall." And then the third guy, who is actually doing the same work, he says, "Oh, I am building the castle for the king." So this is the difference when you have your perspective, either as a chore, a career, or a calling. All right, so the third area I look for in employee is that a competence that somebody must be able to do the job. Compatibility, this has to do with the person's personality and the job. All right, some people are more suited for the outgoing type of work, and some are more in the research and this and that. And then finally, the chemistry. Every time you bring a new person into the team, that relationship, the dynamics can change very dramatically. So you want to be careful about that. All right. This idea of calling, I find that in this company in United States, it's called Chick-Fil-A. You probably have never heard of it, but it is actually the largest chicken burger company in North America. It is bigger than Kentucky Fried Chicken. You have never heard of it because they're very conservative. They have decided not to go overseas until they are ready. It is the largest chicken burger chain in the United States, the third largest fast food restaurant, more than 2,500 restaurants. It has uninterrupted growth of 50 years and a sales approximately of $11 billion in 2019. Now, this is the phenomenal thing. Their profit margin is 4 times the closest competitor in terms of per square meter. So if you use their floor space and compare that to their closest rival, they are 4 times more profitable. And listen to this, they are closed on Sundays. And the reason why they're closed on Sunday is because the owner says that I want my people to worship. So how can I make them work if I want them to go to worship? So he closed on Sunday, and despite of that, and you will know that if you are in the food business, Sunday is your number 1 day, yet they are 4 times more profitable. And this is your mission statement. Their mission statement, and this is right in their headquarters. By the way, they do not call it the headquarters, they call it their support center. To glorify God by being a faithful steward of all that is entrusted to us, to have a positive influence on all who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And they have these values they pass on to their employees. They have the serve principle. If there is another opportunity, I can share that with you. They also have the second mile. The whole idea is you always exceed your customer's expectation. If they ask you to go with 1 mile, you go the second mile with him. I want to share one example of the power of this company. Again, I like to bring business people to visit with them to learn. So a few years ago, I arranged to visit with a VP, a very good friend of mine. And lo and behold, 2 days before we were to visit, my friend told me, sorry, CK, I have an emergency meeting in another city. I cannot host you, but I have arranged someone to host you. So don't worry, just show up. I showed up and I was disappointed because the guy who received us was a 2-year-old IT employee. And that day we're going to talk about their values and the mission and vision. And I was saying, oh no. But you know what? To my huge surprise, and even a better lesson was this young fellow with Chick-fil-A only for 2 years and in the IT department talked and presented Chick-fil-A as if he is the owner's son. You see, this is the power of calling. So my business friends were really, really impressed. They asked me, they say, how could this happen with a company? They cannot imagine. I said, it's actually quite simple. You recruit the people with that calling, all right? You empower them and then they become owners of your company and they will give you everything. So business application is recruit employees with a calling so that they can fulfill their mission through the company. Now, if you are an employee, then I would suggest that you revisit your calling and make sure that you are doing a job that is in line with your personal calling. That is not 100% match, okay? In many cases, that cannot happen, but you must do what you can to make it as close as possible. And then the fourth good reason for doing business is to produce holistic resources. Now, the first one that comes to mind, of course, is financial resources, but there are many more resources. Now, I am a gardener, and nature shows us that when a plant is healthy, it will bear much fruit. So a business will be sustainable when it is healthy. All right, my peach trees, last year, my blueberries, I only have a few of them and they bore me 20 kilos of blueberries. I do not know whether you can imagine 20 kilos of blueberries. I still have many of them frozen in my freezer. And the same that for my grapes and all that. So when we do a healthy business, we will produce holistic fruits. The first one is finance, obviously, but talents, all right? Some companies do not value employees. I was doing a consulting for a company and I noticed he kept firing his staff, particularly his personal assistant. Every few months he changed someone. I said, why do you do that? He says, oh, well, it's so cheap to hire someone. I said, no, it costs you time, right? You have to train this person and this and that. So one of the things that we produce in our company are the human resource. And the more we can retain them, the more they can contribute. Now, of course, a healthy turnover is about 5%. You want new blood, all right? You want new ideas. But anything more than 15% turnover is not healthy. And then, of course, knowledge and wisdom. There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is what you have, or the data, or the facts. But wisdom, it's the application of those knowledge. It takes someone with experience, all right? We make many mistakes and we learn, and therefore we gain wisdom. And then network. This is the idea that you can have a global network. And this is a wonderful thing that you are doing here, that you are connected, all right? Do not underestimate this. Why did Facebook spend $19 billion to buy WhatsApp? it works out to be about $9 per user, because WhatsApp has about 2 billion users and Facebook spent $19 billion. They bought it because of the network. What is WhatsApp? It's the users, the network that Facebook can purchase. And through them, of course, the users are data and information, so they can sell the advertisement and companies can directly sell to these 2 billion people. That's why Facebook is willing to spend $19 billion on it. So in the same way, a sustainable business must carefully develop and cultivate their network globally. And of course, materials, I don't have to talk about that. These are the resources that can be gained. Now, an example of that is this company. It's a small company of about 400 employees in Chicago called Chemcraft. They are an innovator in the automotive parts. These are high quality, precision parts that go into your cars. This company is very innovative because every month it requires every single employee to submit a suggestion. Everyone is required to do that. Now, of course, not everyone can do that every month, so their average rate of return is about 80%. But you think about it, 400 employees, 80%, that is still a very good return rate. And now some of the suggestions are as simple as, oh, this trash bin shouldn't be put here, it should be put there, it will be better. All right, there's some very just vanilla low-level suggestions, but then there are some that are very innovative, that have gained patents around the world. So again, my Chinese business friend asked the owner, what incentives do you give to the employees? And the answer was surprising. He says, no, they don't get anything, because we require them to think innovation. This is part of their job. If I pay them, he says, then if they don't have an idea, they feel okay. But their incentive comes in their salary. Their incentives come at the end, the year ends bonus. So this is what I mean by resources, all right? So this company generates very good profit, but more importantly, it has innovative ideas. And it goes to your poll, being able to change along with the changes, and that is innovation. So plan to produce all kinds of resources. And then finally, the fifth reason why I want to be in business is I want to be generous and socially responsible. All right. A business is a member of society. As a member of society, we want to contribute positively, creatively, constructively, and therefore we have to be generous. In this area of social responsibility, I would prefer this concept of social equity. That is to provide equitable opportunities for everyone, especially those who need help. I am not talking about some situation where, aids are provided like in Africa, and then those societies become dependent on us. I like the concept that is provided for in the Old Testament in the Bible. It says, when you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Leave them for the poor and for the foreigners residing among you. I am the Lord your God. This is a wonderful principle. There are needy people. And of course, the rest of the text tells you there are, the widows, the orphans, and the migrants, the foreigners, and they are the less fortunate. So instead of giving them, handouts, they were told to leave a portion of their field so that these needy people can come. But you notice that these needy people have to work. They do not sit there and wait for your handout. So I think this is a wonderful principle that we can help those in society to help themselves. And human dignity requires that we participate. And then finally, one more example. This is a company in the United States. It's called the Barnhart Crane and Rigging Company. Alan Barnhart is the CEO of this company. Right now, it's about a $250 million company. And he decided to give his shares to a foundation. And he set a ceiling of his personal income to $140,000 a year. Now, 140,000 US dollars is not a bad income, it's middle class. But if you think about every year, he could be making tens of millions of dollars. You know that this is a huge sacrifice. And the reason is this. He and his wife graduated from college and they wanted to do some nonprofit work. But his father was not happy with that. So his father kind of put the challenge before him, saying that if you do not take over the company now, I will sell it and you will have nothing. And me and my wife will go sailing around the world in our retirement. But if you want it, you have to take it. So he and his wife decided, okay, this is an opportunity for us to serve society, different from what they originally intended. But nonetheless, it is a good way. So they decided to take on the company and he grew it. But the way he protected himself from getting swallowed up by the finances, because he loves to make money, just like me. I love to make money. But making money is not a problem. It's how you deal with the money. So he decided to give away. Now, you all are very familiar with the Gates Foundation. They and Warren Buffett have a commitment to give away half of their fortune. And I heard Melinda shared at a conference personally what a blessing this has been to their family. They did this actually mostly for their children. They do not want their children to be spoiled by the funds that they receive. So a sustainable business gives just as it receives. There's a saying, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And that is my motto. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. And these are the good reason for doing business. Meet specific market needs, create a healthy community, empower every employee, produce holistic resources, and be generous and socially responsible. Thank you for your participation. I have my email and my WhatsApp. And if you have questions, I love to interact with you. And maybe you have some more ideas that you want to share with me. So this is
Dr. Tong,
Tosha.
what a wonderful presentation. I'm just enjoying hearing from such a experienced person, and I'm glad that you shared some of your personal experiences when you coach other leaders. And I'm sorry I didn't mention that. I just see you as a business owner who moved past. I know that you already transferred the responsibilities from your business to other people, and now you're mostly coaching. But that's what we're here. We're here for you to coach us. And actually, our first question comes from Macedonia. And we have our friend, his name is Gere. He is asking actually two questions. We'll see if we can get to both of them. So, his first question is, how do you trust people to be the ones for their jobs? So how do you recognize them intuitively? Do you have some kind of a magic application form? What's your process to apply for a new job?
All right, I already mentioned that I have the 5 C's. All right. Um, this will scare you. Every year in my previous organization, I recruit 80 to 120 teachers, international teachers, and I recruit them blind because I recruit them from around the world, and sometimes we only get to know them through the emails and all. So we have a process that usually takes about 6 months to 1 year. And for every person landed in our international school, the cost to us is 20,000 US dollars on average. It includes interviews. I have a psychologist that evaluate the life history. Um, at one point, I read the application. All right, again, this will scare you. The application material is about 50 to 60 pages thick. And
Wow.
imagine I have 80 to 120 to read. And the reason is this, because I'm placing children under their care. And you all know the problems with some schools, the abuses that have happened. And the children I'm talking about are from very rich and powerful families. So I
Mm-hmm.
cannot afford to run into problems, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I can testify that in my 30 over years of leading the company, we do not have a single scandal or a case within
Wow.
our schools. We have one case where a senior student molested a younger student, but in their own apartment outside the school. But that is not related to the school. So
Wow.
it's a process, all right? But I will share with you that if you have those 5 criteria to start with: character, calling, competence, compatibility, and chemistry, that will be a good start. And the
Mm.
other thing is, out of that, you are looking for people with uh, that vision for your company and for their values. When you interview that person, wait for them to ask questions. Their questions tell you more than the answers they give to your question.
Yeah.
That's because they will always ask the questions that are important to them, right?
Ah.
If you ask them what is important to you, they will always try to tell you what you like to hear. But when you
Mm-hmm.
ask them what questions do you have, their
Mm-hmm.
guards are down, and then they reveal to you what is important to them.
Yeah, I would like to know when can I have a raise? That's because it's not that important to me, but I just want to know.
That's correct.
So we have a very interesting question from Ukraine, and I'm assuming that Tatiana wants to ask a question, and she posted it in Ukrainian. But if you can translate it for us, we will ask Dr. Tong. But I will ask the next question that comes, and it's from Andrea. How do you identify your personal calling? How did you know your calling is doing business?
Now, every person's journey is different, but there are a few questions that a few things you can do. All right, I would suggest you ask and answer 4 questions. First of all, what do you like to do? All right, forget about making money, but first of all, ask, what do I enjoy doing? Even if I'm not paid, I will enjoy doing it. Second question, what am I good at? Now, they don't always match. Sometimes they match,
Mm.
right? Some people like to sing, but they may not be good at it, and the person
Hmm.
sings, everybody leaves the room.
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
but thankfully, Tosha, you are a great musician. I enjoy it.
Ah.
Okay, so what you like to do, what are you good at? And then the third question is, what specific need is there in society that match those two, right? This
Mm.
goes back to my first reason for doing business. And then the fourth, very practical. Will people pay for if you do this work, how do you get the finances? Now, it can be a nonprofit. That's fine. All right. A nonprofit also has to have income. In other words, a nonprofit has sort of shareholders who
Mhm.
believes in this mission, and so they contribute to it. So there is income. So when you have those 4 lined up, then you pretty much are moving towards your call. It must come from your heart. And as a Christian myself, my call comes from God. A calling is a response to my Creator. Now, I will say this, as a Christian, a calling is not for me to do something. A
Mm.
calling is for me to be someone.
Mm.
And
Huge difference.
that being is more important than doing. When you are in the right being mode, you will excel in your doing.
Mm. Now you mentioned that it's so interesting. I'm sure a lot of people are puzzled that you are a Christian and we would like to hear how that happened. And so, can you just give short story? And every time I hear it, it's just it blows my mind. You know, we see a person from Asia, and they say they're a Christian, and they actually promote Christianity. Now, hold on a second. We would like to hear how that happened in your heart.
Well, I come from a traditional Chinese family. My parents, grandparents, I mean generations before, they worship idols, Confucianism, Buddhism, all that. So when I was 4 years old, I was the youngest. I have four brothers and five sisters, and because I was the youngest boy, my parents would like to take me to the temple, and they would ask me to put my hand into the pocket of the prosperity god so I could draw some numbers so that they can go gamble, lottery. Um,
Wow.
I told you that I come from a business family. So even at the age of 4 years old, I was thinking, these gods are so stupid. You, you give them a little bit of offerings, oranges and sweets, and then they have to give you thousands of dollars back. That transaction is not good. So in my small mind, I said, yeah, there's no God. All right. And of course, the idols are all very dark and ugly, and I hated to do that. So I was an atheist until I was 19. And then in Singapore at 18 years old, I have to serve in the military. And when I was in the military, uh, I I lost sort of my direction. It was very tough, and I was a very proud person, and then I saw a lot of things that I didn't like. But then out of that, there were some, especially the guy who slept next to me. Uh, he showed a lot of grace, a lot of peace. And long story short, I realized, oh, those guys are Christian. Now, before that, I thought, Christianity is fake, uh,
Mm.
and cannot be believed in. So one night when I was doing guard duty, somebody left a book on basic Christianity by John R. Stott. And
Mm.
that opened my eyes. I thought, Jesus was a myth, but then
Mm.
the book presented him as a historical person. And then that book presented the Bible as reliable and authentic. All
Mm.
that I didn't know. Long story short, I spent one whole month to read the New Testament. And then on December 30th, 1974, I knelt in my barracks. I accepted Jesus as my Lord, and I have
Wow.
been walking with Him since then. It is a journey. It is a relationship. All right, it's not a religion. So
Wow.
I enjoy this relationship, and therefore I'm willing to share that with everybody I meet.
It's amazing. You know, you said it very well. For us, it is not what we do or what we're supposed to do. That doesn't define us. That what we are, who we are, is what defines us. And so we will have maybe time for one or two more questions. Thank you for sharing your story. It's really beneficial for my heart every time I hear it. I hope for many as well that are part of this webinar. So we have a question from the Czech Republic. Vladimir says, "How do you work with people which have good resources in some area, but you can use their resources, skills only for a short time?" I'll ask it again. They have good resources, but you can only use their resources for a short time. So, how do you hire people like that, and what do you do with them?
Well, there are situations that we have consultants. So I do not know your specific situation and what do you mean by short time. But I had consultants who are experts in certain areas. Like for example, at one point, I have to set up our HR system. I engaged someone, and he came for a few months, and he got me set up, and along the way trained my HR director to implement the Haze system. And then I have that for IT. So it is okay to have people work with you for a short time if you have a specific need. But
Mhm.
if you're talking about not being able to hold long-term relationships, then uh, I will need to know a little bit more.
Mm,
I always want people to work with me for a long period of time,
mm,
because our best synergy only comes when we are in sync with one another, and it takes time. Usually I will say I will get the best from someone after I have worked with the person for 3 to 5 years, and
mm.
not shorter than that.
Yeah. We have a very short, interesting question from Cleona. You can say just yes or no. Do you suggest to invest in crypto in 2021?
Short answer, no.
Thank you very much. And now we go back to our Macedonian friend who asked two questions. So his second question was, what do you think is the most important thing in selling the product that is a service, healing, therapy, coaching, and these are unusual to sell?
All right. Actually, this is true of all selling. Uh, the professionals usually when they sell their features. They do not know how to sell the benefits. What do I mean by that is if if you sell the phone and you start to describe all the technical data, the features, you can take a picture at how many million pixels, da 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 da. That's called selling features. And if you are a therapist, you can say, I can massage you this and that. That's called selling features. What you need to do is to translate that to benefits. You can say, hey, now you feel this pain after my massage. I guarantee you'll be able to dance again. All right. So simply put, learn to sell benefits. In other words, the services you provide will give this person certain good results. And what is that? Like IT, for example, I got another company I can share with you, and he says, Chinese companies don't like to pay for intangibles, so they have a hard time selling their software to the companies. And I found out that he was just sharing, what the software can do. I said, no, you have to help your customers see, like for example, the accounting system. They said, wow, 1 million renminbi is too expensive to spend on this software. Then I said, you help him see that this new software can reduce his accounting staff by maybe 25%, and then that 25% equals to how many renminbi per year. And so in about 2, 3 years, they break even.
Hmm.
So that's how I would.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I don't think we can use you enough, and I don't think this time that we have for our webinar is even close to being enough. People are probably burning with questions and they just want to have one-on-one time with you, which is what people in Macedonia said that was most beneficial when you came and visited us. You were available for one-on-one coaching. Thank you for doing that. And this is kind of, I'm excited to announce that we can have not one-on-one, but a small group on one time of Q&A tomorrow.